What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah, and you're watching this video on Sunday, November 17th, 2024 at 10:50 a.m. MST. It seems like I can't get off of this train of consideration of a culture of confession. So this week, part 3, continuing on. Back in 2021, I was so excited about this reality of a culture of confession. I started sharing it with some people, and there's been a little bit of pushback against Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 5 of, if you're at the altar and they remember that your brother holds something against you, leave your gift there, go be reconciled to your brother, then come back and offer your gift. But that God's heart is for reconciliation, and that if we're there at the altar, remember that our brother has something against us, that we should leave our gift and go out to be reconciled to him. The pushback is if we were to press into that and exercise it, that we would never then offer gifts of worship to our Father, that we would always be going out because there's always going to be somebody that has something against us. Now, I get that. I push back against this reality just as much as has been pushed back against me. But I think in praying with it and then wrestling with it, hearing that pushback and spending time with it, God solved it with a revelation of his heart towards me. I think a beautiful application of the passage in Luke chapter 15 of the prodigal family, as the younger son goes to his father and says, "Father, I have no use for you other than what you give me, so I wish that you were just dead and I could have your possessions. Give me what is mine." The father, it says, listens to his younger son's request and divides up his possessions between the two of his sons. That both sons in that space, as a result of the younger son's request, wound up receiving their inheritance from their father at that time, older brother and younger brother. And then it says that the younger brother went to a foreign country where he spent his inheritance on wild living, and when he came to an end of all of his funds, Noah was there to take care of him and found himself tending pigs. And it says no one would give him what he needed, such that he lusted for the pods that he was feeding to the pigs and was attempting to steal the rightful possession of pigs, and that his authority over him was begrudging him even that he was having to steal pig food. It says there he came to his senses and said, "My father's servants in his house live better than this. So I will return to my father and tell him, I've sinned against you and against heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son, but please take me back as one of your hired servants." It then says that as he was coming back to his home, that his father was watching for him and saw his son from a long ways off, and that his father ran out to him, fell on him, kissing him, and said, "My son was lost but is now found. He was dead but is now alive." And he instructed all of his servants, "Quick, kill the fattened calf, put robes on my son and rings on his fingers and sandals on his feet. We must celebrate." And so it says that they put the celebration together and they went in. In the previous parables that Jesus tells to this one about the prodigal son, the pattern is the same, that when the shepherd goes out to find the lost lamb, and when the woman sweeps her house and finds the lost coin, that when what was lost is then found, that when it is returned, that the proper response to that is celebration. So the father is in his house celebrating with his son, and it says that the older son is out in the field working, that at the end of his day, that when the older son cleans all of his tools and starts coming back to the house, as he comes near the house, it says that he hears the sound of a party, and that he asks the servants, "What is happening?" Then it says that the servants tell the older brother, "Your younger brother who is gone has come back, and your father is celebrating him in the house." And it says that the brother was angry and refused to go in. Now, if we jump forward in the conversation, the older brother says that he's angry with his father, that the older brother has served the father for years and has never disobeyed him, but that the father has not given the older brother so much as a goat to celebrate with his friends. But when this rebellious son who spent all of the family's inheritance on wild living and prostitutes, which I'm not sure exactly how the older brother knew that the younger brother had spent his money on prostitutes, having not been in the house and heard his brother's confession, which may lead me to think that the older brother followed the younger brother, spied on him, and was not doing anything about it. That's an entirely different story. But he says, but when this son of yours comes back, you throw a party for him, not having it. I'm angry with you, Father, and holding this against you and pouting out here in the field. As I engage that story, what I find is that as the father lives in his house, he has two sons who are not reconciled to him. Of anyone in this story that we know for certain that has no culpability in being reconciled to his sons, it's the father. The father has done absolutely nothing wrong. However, when his younger son asks for his inheritance, goes to a foreign country, loses the family inheritance, is in sin, and dishonors the family name, when he returns, the father sees the son from a long ways off, and that the father leaves his rightful place in his own house with a clear conscience, having done nothing wrong, that he leaves his rightful place and goes out to be reconciled to his younger son. After that, then he says, we must celebrate, that there is an oughtness to the proper expression of celebration in his house over the reconciliation that has happened between him and his younger son. However, as the father is sitting in his rightful place with a clear conscience, feasting on, shall we say, the sacrifice of fattened calf that's been killed, that he's enjoying, that it's heated to perfection. It's just medium rare and juicy with just a light sprinkling of salt to bring out the flavor. And he's sitting at the head place at the banqueting table in his own house, and he's cut his steak and he's just getting ready to put his steak in his mouth, and there remembers that the brother, the older brother, is out in the field and holds something against his father. Now, at this point, it's very safe to say, it's very easy to see that the father had nothing to reconcile with the older brother. The father's conscience was clear. The older brother was the one who had the issue with the father. And yet the father leaves his rightful place. He leaves his gift there on the table and goes out to be reconciled to the older brother and to reconcile the older brother to the younger son. Hopefully what this can encourage you in is the question that I have is, why was it that the father left his rightful place to go out to be reconciled to the older brother when it was the older brother who had something against his younger brother? Jesus' words likewise say, if you were there at the altar offering your gift and there remember that your brother has something against you, go out and be reconciled to him first, then come and offer your gifts. As I engage that, the thing that I'm challenged with is that my father has set an example for me that I should follow, that the God of the universe stood up from his rightful place to show compassion to me, that he came out to me to be reconciled to me when it was me who should have gone to him, that my father on his rightful throne remembered that I had something against him and that I needed to be reconciled to him. And the beautiful aspect is that the Father went forward in the person of my older brother, Jesus, that Jesus left and came to me to reconcile me to the Father when he had nothing to be reconciled to me over. It's all on me. I had the problem. So out of that, in seeing the great grace of my Father's heart towards all mankind expressed through my older brother, Jesus, and that he so gently and lovingly stood up from his rightful place, left his gifts there before the Father, and came out to be reconciled with me, and then to go back and to offer his proper gifts of worship before the Father, I don't know how I can do anything else. That now it's not a problem that has to be solved, but a privilege that gets to be engaged. That I get to constantly be thinking of those who are outside of a context of celebratory worship with my Father and communion and right relationship with Him. But as those people are brought to my mind through the power of the Holy Spirit, that He reminds me of them, that I remember, oh, I know of someone that it could be my joy, it could be my pleasure to get up from my rightful place with a clear conscience before our Father in the throne room of heaven and to go out to reconcile all mankind to Him who might have aught against Him. If you subscribe to what I'm doing, hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. And if you loved this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. Pray blessings on our lives together. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video, which starts now. So good. Life has been so busy. I'm actually recording this video before I have the videos from last week finished and posted. I think one of the benefits that I'm learning in this season and the maturity and completeness that God's building into my life is that as I'm going through life, in order to make these videos, that I have to speak with Him constantly about this context, this space before I get here, and that I speak with Him as I drive and as I sit at my desk and work, as I'm with my kids and as I wash dishes, so that as I flow into this space, that it just comes out of the overflow of my heart, that I've listened and spoke with the Father so much about this space that I can just run into this space and record it with people mowing the grass across the way and people playing on playgrounds, and people driving around and people staring at me, but I'm able to have focus and connect with you in the moment and just flow out of the overflow of my heart. What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah, and probably not the beginning you were expecting. Probably doesn't mean anything to you. It does for me, because I'm completely remaking my video for this week. Oh man, I had a whole other video that I made in the park and it was awesome, but just let me tell you the story.